Hi! Today I've got a special surprise for you. Here it is! It's my magic box. What could be in the magic box? Well, it could be anything. Every time I open this box, it's always a surprise. Let's see what's in the magic box today. Wow! Check it out. An underwater camera. This type of camera is called a LOMO. LOMO is short for lomography. LOMO cameras are made in Russia. Have a look. You can see that the outside of the camera is a hard plastic casing. Let's open it up and see what's inside. Whoa, cool. Wow, look at that. There's the waterproof casing, and inside we have an old-style plastic camera. This camera feels pretty light and honestly kind of flimsy. They're not super high quality, but they feel kind of like expensive toys, and they take pretty good pictures. Here's another thing. This camera has a fisheye lens. No, that doesn't mean it's made with fish eyes. It means that the lens is round and it captures light in a different way from normal cameras. Fisheye lenses take photographs that look like this. And when this small fisheye camera is inside the hard plastic case, you can take photos underwater. Some examples of underwater lomography might look like this. But why am I showing you this cool camera? That's because in today's Reading Explorer Foundation's passage, we'll be reading about an interview with National Geographic photographer Joel Sartore. He's an interesting person who takes amazing photographs. Let's get started. Before you read. National Geographic photographer Joel Sartore photographs an Adelie penguin. Let's discuss. What kinds of things do you usually take photos of? Well, if I were to open my phone right now, which I'm not going to do, you'd see lots of pictures of my daughter playing in the park. You'd also see lots of pictures of me, of my family, and of food. What kinds of things do you usually take photos of? That's a good question. Do you have a camera? Question 2. Do you think a photographer's job is easy? That's another good question. My neighbor is a wedding photographer. He gets paid to go to people's weddings and take pictures. He works very hard and he's really good at what he does. I don't think his job is easy. What do you think? Now, before we read Getting the Shot, we're going to watch a video about service animals. Take a look at this dog. So cute. Since 1991, Canine Assistance has trained over 1,500 dogs. In Canine Assistance Super Dog program, puppies learn more than just tricks. These very smart dogs will grow up to be service dogs and will be given to people who need them. The recipients are people who cannot move around without help or have other special needs. These dogs have an important job to do. It is the animal trainer's job to teach them to do it. Take a look at the bold words in yellow. Do you know all of these words? Write down any words that are new to you. We're going to talk about 2 of these words now. The word canine means dog. You probably have 4 canine teeth. They're the teeth at the corners of your mouth, here and here. These teeth are sharper than your other teeth. They kind of look like vampire fangs. These teeth are good for ripping and chewing food. Dogs are called canines because all of their teeth are sharp and pointy, just like this. The other word we're going to talk about is the word recipients. The word recipient is a noun that means a person who gets or receives something. A person who is given something. If you are a recipient, then you have been given something. All of these words appear in today's video. The right dog for the job. Pay attention to the video because we'll be answering some questions after.
This is the Canine Assistance Canine Camp. At the Canine Camp, animal trainers teach dogs to help people. The trainers teach their students to open and close doors, turn on lights, and even find help when their owner has fallen down or is sick. If their owner is in trouble, the dogs have to press a big button which will call the police. To teach the dogs to love their jobs, the trainers give them food each time they do something right. One day, these dogs will be given to people who are sick or need help around the house. But first, they must learn to think for themselves and be trained to want to help their owners. As Canine Assistance founder Jennifer Arnold explains,
our dogs have to love what they're doing.
Make it harder. Get it? Selma. No, get it. Selma. Get it, boy.
And when they leave us and they go home with their recipient, when the recipient says, "Will you pick this up for me?" Well, it's all up to the dog.
Yes, good boy.
Jennifer wants her students to be super dogs. For the first year and a half of their lives, these dogs go through some very difficult training. Scientists think this kind of training makes the dogs better learners. Welcome to the puppy room. At the camp, the dogs start training in the puppy room before they are 16 weeks old. The puppies learn things they will keep for a lifetime. This is an important time for them. In the puppy room, they will face situations they will find in their new homes. They learn to play with and be comfortable with lights, other animals, even themselves. At 8 weeks, they hit a time of fear, where just about everything is frightening. If they don't get past it now, they never will. So, this is an important time for the trainers to show the pups there's nothing to be afraid of. The trainers take each puppy on a trip outside the camp. They want the puppies to experience the world outside and get used to all the places they might go with their owners when they grow up, like the supermarket. When the dogs are old enough and their training is complete, these super dogs are ready to go into the human world and do their jobs.
These dogs are such lifesavers. I'm so happy for the people who are getting them.
Amazing! Did you notice how the video spoke about people with special needs? If a person has special needs, it means that they can't do all of the things that many other people can do. For example, someone with special needs might not be able to walk, or they might have trouble seeing or hearing. Service animals are trained to help people with special needs, and the recipients mentioned in the video are the people who receive a service animal. Let's answer some questions. This is part A, completion. According to the video, the dogs have to learn to take care of themselves or want to help their owners. Do you remember what the correct answer is? The dogs have to learn to want to help their owners. If they didn't want to help, they wouldn't be the right dog for the job, would they? Number 2, scientists think this kind of training makes the dogs better learners or healthier. What's the correct answer? This kind of training makes the dogs better learners. Number 3, in the puppy room, the dogs face situations or meet the people they'll find in their new homes. Which is it? In the puppy room, the dogs face situations they'll find in their new homes. That's good training. Number 4, The trainers take each puppy on a trip to experience the world outside or learn to do the shopping. Can dogs learn to do the shopping? I don't think so. The purpose of these trips is to experience the world outside. Nice work! Let's do part B, paraphrasing. The sentences below are from the video. What do the phrases in bold mean? If their owner is in trouble, the dogs have to press a big button. Is in trouble. What does that mean? Does it mean needs help? Or does it mean they have done something bad? The correct answer is needs help. Number 2, when the recipient says, "Will you pick this up for me?" It's all up to the dog. Up to the dog. What does that mean? Does that mean only the dog can do it? Or does it mean that the dog can choose whether or not they do it? Up to the dog means only the dog can do it. Number 3, at 8 weeks, they hit a time of fear, where just about everything is frightening. If they don't get past it now, they never will. Get past means to move away from or to find a way to deal with. What do you think? The correct answer is find a way to deal with. Nice work! Part C, discuss. Discuss these questions with a partner. Would you like to be a trainer at Canine Assistance? And if you were an animal trainer, what animal would you train? I'll go first. I think I would like to visit an animal training center, or maybe even work there part-time. How about you? Would you like to be a trainer at Canine Assistance? And if you were an animal trainer, what animal would you train? Well, let me see. I think it might be fun to train dolphins. Dolphins are very smart. Plus, you'd get to be in and around the water all day while you work. That sounds pretty fun. Discussion question number 2. Jennifer Arnold says the dogs must love their jobs to do them well. Do you think this is true for people too? Why or why not? That is a good question. I'll let you answer first. Well done. I think that for people to do their jobs well, they don't have to love their jobs. But if you love your job, you will be happier. For example, I don't think I would love to be a garbage collector, but I'm pretty sure I could do that job well. Do you see the difference? I can do a job well and not love it. But if I love the job that I do, I will be a lot happier doing it. Time for today's main reading. Getting the shot. Here are today's language targets. A one-day job. And so on. To get into. Good enough. And to be passionate. Now, today's passage is an interview. And an interview is a question and answer session, usually between 2 people. The interviewer asks the questions and the interviewee answers them. Today's interviewee is Joel Sartore. The interviewer is a reporter from the National Geographic. And for today's video, we're going to do something special. There are 4 interview questions. Question A goes like this. I want to be a photographer. Do you have any advice for me? Here's question B. What kind of photographers is the National Geographic magazine looking for? Question C is it difficult to get a job as a photographer today? And question D. How did you become a National Geographic photographer? Now, these questions are not asked in ABCD order. So what we're going to do today is we will read Joel's answer first. Then I will ask you to tell me what question did the interviewer ask Joel. It's going to be fun. Are you ready? Let's go. An interview with Joel Sartore. Joel Sartore is a writer, teacher, and photographer. His words and images show passion for photography and for the world around us. Question 1. Here's Joel's answer. Pay attention, I'll ask you what the question is in a moment. My first job was for a newspaper. After a few years there, I met a National Geographic photographer. He liked my photos and said I should send some to the magazine. So I did. That led to a 1-day job. And that led to a 9-day job, and so on. We have 2 vocabulary words on this page: images and passion. We also have 2 language targets: a 1-day job and so on. Now, what is the question that the interviewer asked Joel? Here are the questions in case you need a refresher. Did you get it? The answer is question D. How did you become a National Geographic photographer? Pretty fun, huh? Let's take a look at the vocabulary. The word images means pictures. These pictures can be in your mind, or they can be on a flat surface, like a screen, a page, or in a photograph. What images are in your room? By the way, the word image is related to the word imagine. When you imagine something, you make or see an image in your mind. Get it? An X-ray is an image. Your reflection is an image. Pretty cool, huh? Passion is a very powerful feeling. What is something you do with passion? I play music with passion. How about you? Time for our first language target. A 1-day job. This is a job that can be done in 1 day. Cooking dinner for a big party could be a 1-day job. Cleaning your whole house or apartment is probably a 1-day job, maybe 2 or 3. Baking a big cake could be a 1-day job. Is building a house a 1-day job? Well, if it is, I'm not going in that house. Let's practice. A 1-day job is a job that can be done in 1 day. What jobs or activities can you do or think of that are 1-day jobs? Nice work. And so on means with other things that are the same. On my next vacation, I would like to visit Italy, France, Germany, and so on. When I buy groceries, I usually get things like carrots, bananas, bread, and so on. Before we moved into our new house, we had to mop the floors, clean the windows, move all of our boxes in, and so on. In order to stay healthy, it's important to exercise, eat a balanced diet, and so on. Let's practice. And so on means with other things like this, or with other things that are the same. Can you use this language target in a sentence? Question 2. We don't know what the question is yet, but here is Joel Sartore's answer. To get into National Geographic, you have to give them something they don't have. It's not enough just to be a great photographer. You also have to, for example, be a scientist, or be able to dive under sea ice, or spend several days in a tree. We have 1 language target in this answer: to get into. We also have 2 vocabulary words, the word enough and the word spend. Do you know which question the interviewer asked Joel Sartore? Here's a list of the questions. The answer is question B. What kind of photographers is National Geographic magazine looking for? Hey, now you're getting the hang of it. To get into means to be hired or accepted. It's a happy day. Samantha got into the school she wanted. Ever since Jason got into the sports program, he stays after school to train. Not anybody can go. You have to get into the program first. Luke got into the creative writing program. Now, instead of going to language arts class, he studies creative writing. Hey, that sounds fun. Now, to get into can have another meaning. It can mean to become interested in or to make someone interested in. For example, last summer, Sarah visited her aunt at the farm. There are many horses there. Sarah got into horses. That means she became interested in them. Now she rides all the time. Let's practice. To get into means to be hired or accepted, or it can mean to become interested in. What jobs, clubs, or activities would you like to get into? I have a student who will be getting ready to go to college next year. Depending on which school he gets into, he might be moving to a different country. The word enough means as much or as many as needed. You can never eat enough vegetables. Oh no! To spend means to pay, and this could be time, energy, or money. For example, how much time do you spend with your pets? Do you spend a lot of energy climbing the stairs? Hey, cool shoes. How much money did you spend on them? Here's Joel's answer to the third question. It's now more difficult to work for magazines. Technology now makes it easy to take good pictures, which means there are more photos and photographers. Also, the web is full of photos from all around the world that are free or cost very little. These photos are often good enough to be put in books and magazines that once paid for photographers and their photos. We have two vocabulary words, the word cost and the word paid. And we have one language target. Good enough. Now, my question to you is, what is the question? If you're not sure, take a look at the list of questions. Did you get it? The answer is question C. Is it difficult to get a job as a photographer today? Joel Sartore says yes, it's now more difficult to work for magazines. The word cost means the amount needed to make, do, or buy something. How much would it cost to visit every country in the world? That would cost a lot of time and a lot of money. Good enough means as much as what's needed. If something is good enough, it's not the best, but it works just fine. Your boring old sandwich may not be steak flambe, but it's good enough for lunch. My shoes are not perfect, but they're good enough to play football. My guitar is not the most expensive one in the world, but it's good enough to make music. And by the way, my Chinese is not perfect, but it's good enough for small talk. Ni hao. Let's practice. Good enough means as much as what's needed. Can you use this language target in a sentence? What is something that you have or do that's good enough? To pay for means to give in exchange for something else. And remember, it doesn't just mean money. You could give money, time, or energy. If you buy something, you pay money for it. If you get paid, you are given money for something. Does that make sense? Here is question 4. Well, at least here's Joel Sartore's answer to question 4. Here we go. Advice? Well, work hard. Be passionate about every project you work on. Take lots of pictures in different situations. Look at others' photos thoughtfully and learn from them. And be curious about life. There's something to photograph everywhere. But be a photographer for the right reasons. If you do it for the money, you probably won't really be happy. Do you want to make the world a better place or make people see things in a different way? If so, you'll enjoy the work much more. Wow, that's great advice. But what question is Joel Sartore answering? We'll find out in a minute. By the way, we'll look at the vocabulary words situations and probably. We'll also learn the language target which is to be passionate. Now, what question is Joel Sartore answering here? The answer is question A. I want to be a photographer. Do you have any advice for me? The word passionate means full of strong or powerful feelings. If you are passionate, you feel very strongly about something. For example, robotics engineers are passionate about designing robots. Artists are passionate about creating their work. If you are passionate about something, it's like a fire burning inside you. Chefs are passionate about making the world's best food. This right here is a video of steak flambe. It is delicious. Composers are passionate about writing music, and music students are passionate about learning how to write. Let's practice. If you are passionate, you are full of strong or powerful feelings. What are you passionate about? A situation is all the things that are happening at one time and place. A good photographer is ready to get the shot in all kinds of situations. What kinds of situations do you see here? The word probably means very likely, almost for sure. Maybe is not probably. What are these people doing? These two are probably writing a song. What is probably happening in this photograph? I bet the robot is probably very bad at playing the violin. What's probably happening here? The girl probably doesn't want to eat the salad. Hey, I think we're probably just about finished with the reading, right? We are. Time for the discussion questions. Discussion question number 1. Would you like to be a professional photographer? Why or why not? Well, for my job, which is to make videos, I have to use a camera all the time. But I don't really think of myself as a professional photographer because I don't go out into different situations and take pictures. So maybe I could say I am a videographer. I'm not sure if I would like to be a professional photographer. I do enjoy taking pictures. So maybe I would consider photography a hobby, but not a profession. What about you? Would you like to be a professional photographer? I have met a few of them, and their photos are amazing. Discussion question number 2. What do you think is probably the best part about being a photographer? Ooh, good question. I'll answer first. I think the best part of being a photographer is... Oh, what's that? You want to answer first? Okay, by all means, go ahead. Uh-huh. Hey, I hadn't thought of that. Well, I think the best part about being a photographer is traveling for your job. That sounds great to me. What's probably the worst part about being a professional photographer? Ooh, another good question. Maybe the worst part about being a photographer is dealing with unpredictable weather conditions. I can't think of anything worse than that. Can you? Time for today's critical thinking questions. How can photographers make the world a better place? And what do you think Joel Sartore meant when he said, be a photographer for the right reasons? You can take a moment to think about your answers to these questions. Go ahead and pause the video now if you need to. I think photographers can make the world a better place by sharing images with other people that help people view the world in a new or different way. When you look at a really special photograph, all of these things make you view the world in a different way. They're things that the photographer is helping you to see that you couldn't or haven't seen on your own. Passionate photographers are important because they're brave and they care about helping people change their mind. That's just my answer. What's yours? Okay, now for the second part of this question. What do you think Joel Sartore meant when he said, be a photographer for the right reasons? I'll give you a hint. If a photographer is not passionate or full of feeling about their job, they probably won't take very good pictures. That's my hint, and I'm not saying any more. Now, what's your answer? Excellent. Time for today's reading skill. Today's reading skill is understanding the use of commas. Knowing how writers use commas helps you read and understand texts better. Here are some rules for using commas. Use a comma to separate things in a series. For example, I enjoy taking pictures of people, comma, animals, comma, and flowers. Sometimes this type of comma is called an Oxford comma. When you have things listed in series or one after the other, you will put a comma after every word. If you have 3 or more words, you put the word and before the last word. Does that make sense? Just like in the sentence on the screen here. I enjoy taking pictures of people, comma, animals, comma, and flowers. If there were 4 things in this series, people, comma, animals, comma, cars, comma, and flowers, you would put cars, comma, and, no comma, flowers. Get it? The more you practice the Oxford comma, the easier it is to use. Here's another rule for using commas. Use a comma to separate a city, state, or country. E.g., and e.g. just means for example. I recently traveled to Rome, comma, Italy, comma, to study photography. Ooh, that's a great place to take photographs. Use a comma to set off an introductory word or expression. For example, at first, comma, I was shy about taking pictures. We have 2 more rules. Are you ready? Let's go. Use a comma to separate different ideas in a sentence. For example, I have a camera, comma, but it's not a very good one. And the last rule, use a comma to set off a word or phrase within a sentence. For example, I am, comma, however, comma, a very good photographer. Okay, let's do some practice. For part A, we'll analyze. That means we'll look at some examples of sentences. We want to check the sentences that use commas correctly. So be on the lookout for mistakes because there are some. There are 5 sentences. Here's the first one. I flew to San Diego, comma, California, comma, last week to see my sister. Here's the next sentence. She moved, comma, there several years ago. Here's the third sentence. When I got there, comma, my sister took me to the zoo. The fourth, she works at the zoo, comma, so she gave me a tour. And the fifth, she works with, comma, bears, wolves, and, comma, monkeys. Now, there are some mistakes here. Which sentences are correct? Do you know? The first sentence is correct. I flew to San Diego, comma, California, comma, last week to see my sister. This sentence is correct because you should use commas to separate cities and states in your sentences. The third sentence is also correct. When I got there, comma, my sister took me to the zoo. This comma is correct because you should use a comma to separate ideas in your sentences. The fourth sentence is correct. She works at the zoo, comma, so she gave me a tour. This is the same rule as applies in the last sentence, using a comma to separate ideas. Now, which sentences have mistakes? The second sentence has a mistake. There should not be a comma after the word moved. In fact, there should be no comma in this sentence. The fifth sentence has mistakes. Both of the commas in the sentence are in the wrong spot. There should not be a comma after the word with or and, but there should be 1 comma after the word bears and 1 after the word wolves. This is an example of the Oxford comma, which I explained to you earlier. Remember? Practice part B. Completion. Now, this is really going to test your comma using skills. Add commas as needed. I want you to write these sentences down and add the commas as they go. Here's the first sentence. Joel Sartore is a writer, teacher, and photographer. You need to add 2 commas to this sentence. Where do they go? Write it now. Here's the second sentence. And that led to a 9-day job and so on. You need to add 1 comma to this sentence. Sentence 3. To get into National Geographic, you have to give them something they don't have. Add 1 comma to this sentence. Sentence 4. If you do it for the money, you probably won't be really happy. Add 1 comma here. And sentence 5. If so, you'll enjoy the work much more. You'll be adding 1 comma to this sentence. How'd you do? Here are the answers. Sentence 1. Joel Sartore is a writer, comma, teacher, comma, and photographer. Number 2. And that led to a 9-day job, comma, and so on. Sentence number 3. To get into National Geographic, comma, you have to give them something they don't have. Sentence number 4. If you do it for the money, comma, you probably won't be really happy. And sentence 5. If so, comma, you'll enjoy the work much more. Hey, that was pretty fun, wasn't it? I hope you got enough practice because it is time for today's homework. And yep, you guessed it. Today we're going to be doing a commas worksheet. I made this worksheet for you. Isn't it beautiful? Read the sentences and place commas as needed. I even included some rules for using commas that you can refer to as you do the worksheet. It's gonna be fun. That's it for today's lesson. I hope you had a great time reading this interview with National Geographic photographer Joel Sartore. Stick around. The retelling and writing lesson is coming up next.